2 weeks ago, a friend of mine introduced me to Meshtastic and MeshCore. And if you know about the LoRa radio technology, you kind of know what these two mean. But if you're totally new to it and you're wondering why does this MagSafe device have a little antenna on top, here's a quick intro on what those technologies mean. LoRa, L-O-R-A, stands for long range. And what that means is it's a radio frequency that can travel long distances for very low power. And in recent years, people have taken that protocol that anyone can use, doesn't matter what country you're in, and made these little devices that are very small, take very little power. And what happens is you have one device, your friend can have another device, and both of those can connect to your phone via Bluetooth. So your phone will have the keyboard and the interface where you can type a message. It goes from Bluetooth over from your phone to your device. Now, this may seem like it defeats the purpose of not having a phone where you can communicate with people without a Wi-Fi connection or a cellular. But the only reason you use a phone is it has really good keyboard and everyone has a phone, so it makes it easier, and these devices can be really cheap. But there's a lot of other companies that make this device with a screen and a little keyboard, so you don't even need a phone to use it. And you don't have to configure any of those things. It does it automatically over the mesh. Hence the name Meshtastic or MeshCore. Now, the Meshtastic and MeshCore are two different protocols that two different people have come up with. And these are open source softwares that you can use. They use the same exact technology, the same exact board, the same exact radio frequencies, but they just have fundamentally different ways of achieving the same exact thing. I'm not gonna go too deep into the differences between how MeshCore and Meshtastic do this kind of mesh communication. What I'm going to talk about is how I went from designing this from scratch to actually having a working prototype. One of the problems with having this device is you have to have it on you at all times. It can be connected to your phone. And if you're using Meshtastic, you can discover other people on the network and you can see how far you were able to communicate with people on this little map. A lot of times I would remember to take my phone with me, but I would forget to take the node. This is one of the nodes that you can just 3D print yourself and put the board inside with the antenna on top. You have to have this on you so you can discover other devices, but I would forget to take this with me. As I brainstormed what the solution to a problem like that would be, I never forget to take MagSafe compatible devices on my phone because they can just be attached. It doesn't feel like a third device. Essentially, the idea was born out of there. I can have this radio connected to the back of my phone, so then I don't have to remember to take it with me. But this, as you can see, works really well. But this is pretty bulky. It's not as wide, so it can still fit on your pocket, but the antenna makes it kind of uncomfortable. So then I started designing this little piece, and this was actually my first prototype. My entire goal was, can I get the dimensions of the back of my phone, and then this is where the camera will be, and right under that will be the entire device. So I mapped these outlines out, get the corners right. I made these little outlines where you could fit the battery here, get the rack device right here, which is a module that uses the LoRa protocol, and then you can connect it through USB. You can put the Bluetooth module right here, and the antenna would come out of right here. And because this was so new to me, I did not know how I would put a lid on top of it, and the lid doesn't even fit too well. So I made this little standoff right here, and all I would have to do for the first prototype is sandwich this on top and put a screw right in here. And that was essentially my first test of taking this around with me. It was pretty thin compared to this one, so that was solved that problem, and this could be right on the back of my phone. It would look essentially like how the Apple MagSafe battery pack looks like. It would kind of be similar dimension, but of course this design wasn't perfect, and I had some design issues. It was flimsy, the screws would go in, but they were not the perfect size. I'm at iteration number 19, and this is where I feel comfortable taking it with me when I go outside. There were a lot of small improvements that I had to make over the iterations. And the next one I designed, you can see how small this is. The board would sit right here with a little battery, and the antenna would go through here. The battery that I was going to use was at 2000 milliamp hours, and 2000 milliamp is a pretty good balance between, oh, the battery's too big that it cannot fit in here, and oh, it is too small and it's only going to last me like a week before I need to charge it again. And if you have to charge something once every 3 weeks, that makes it a little more convenient to have it on you at all times. So this came out really good. I got the dimension of the antenna right. I got the Bluetooth antenna right here pretty well. But then I scratched this entire design again. The third one is the design that has kind of stayed similar throughout my entire 19 versions. I have made a lot of tweaks, but it looks kind of the same. This felt more like the MagSafe battery pack that Apple sells. I got the corners a little correct. The antenna size was much better. The USB-C port was still the same, but then holding this was much more like an iPhone, and you can put it on the back and it would feel the same. This is where I made most of the improvements, putting all the components on here with the walls and then just putting a cap on it, reversed it. I would put all the components on a flat surface with these mounts on it, and then put a cover on top so that covers the entire thing. Then it would sit flat and much easier to work with. So this is where I got the battery to fit in. The rack module would go right here. Instead of the antenna being super long, if I put the antenna a little bit inside of the case and some of it is still outside, would the signals drop too much? And I haven't seen too much of an issue with it. So what I did was I made the antenna to fit starting here instead of being at the very top. So half of it would still be inside the case. So that would make the antenna a little smaller. So when you put it in your pocket, it won't get caught on the outside of your pocket. And when I started using this, would fit right in. I still needed like screw holes, mounting holes. But before I made the next design, what I wanted to get onto was making it translucent. Whenever new sort of technology comes around, it starts with a lot of nerds like us who like to buy these kind of devices, and having a transparent back makes it look really good. Now, I don't have an injection mold where I can make a fully transparent back. I do have a translucent 3D printing filament that I could use that would yield 50% of the result of a fully transparent one, but without having to pay $20,000 for injection molding tooling. So this was one of the first cases that I printed. It's not the best. You can see it's translucent. You can still see my finger right behind it. Now I had these mounting points for the screws to go in. It was much more sturdier, a little translucency. The antenna was much more accurate. Now I got the USB-C port to the exact dimensions of the outside diameter. And then I slowly iterated on making sure the dimensions of the holes where the rack board would go would be correct. And then I finally got the holes for mounting this to the case. You can see how it snaps really well in there. And I could mount these 2 screws in there, and then this wouldn't fall out when everything was working. This is where it started to take a little bit more shape on getting this to the working product. This is where I started to get the translucency much better, where this is one of the first few that I made. Now I'm going to show you what the final board will look like if you buy a kit. If you buy the kit where all you need is the 3D printed enclosure and the screws that you would need to put all your stuff together, like the battery and the board that you buy, this is what you're going to get. The top case, which has the holes for your USB-C, the reset button, and then this will be the actual board, where this has a much smaller footprint than the previous one, where your battery will go right here, your antenna goes right through here, and you put this right on top of it so the battery doesn't move. And then you'll just screw your rack board on here, and then you just close the enclosure, and then you screw it in, and it perfectly snaps in, and you will have a MagSafe mesh device in your hands. I will have detailed instructions linked below if you wanted like full instructions on how to set up this whole thing. This is just me quickly showing you how this is going to be put together. So I think these 3 solid colors came out really well. And then there's always a translucent one where the back of it is red. You can see the parts, but there's still the back red color. So it still shows that after this red, all these parts are sitting on here. And that's kind of how the white one also works. So it has more light inside of it. And when you get your own device, this is how simple it's going to be to attach it to your phone. So all you do, take your phone, ideally take this, it's going to attach on here, and it does not come off. Oh, that's simple. You really have to give it a really hard shake for it to come off of the device. This is not a repeater. This is not one of the ones that you set up outside. I'm sure there's a lot of solutions out there that work really well for it, but the one that you always want to have on you, the MagSafe, is one of the safest ways to not forget and have it on your phone at all times. If you're interested in purchasing one of these devices, I have 3 different files for you. One will be a fully assembled device that you can just flash your own if you want to use MeshCore, Meshtastic, and you can use it out of the box. Second is if you already have the rack module and a battery of this size, and all you want is a 3D printed case and the screws that do not come with the rack, I will just send you the 3D printed case with the screws necessary for it. Or if you have a 3D printer, you have all the devices, you just want to get the design files that you can download to just print one for yourself and all the settings that I use to print it, and you can just assemble one for yourself. And for every unit that someone purchases, $1 of it is going to go back to the open source communities for Meshtastic and MeshCore. I'm going to split 50-50 because no protocol has made its way fully into the ecosystem. They're still divided into these 2 halves. Please let me know if you have any questions or any feedback on how this works and how this looks right now. If you would like to see any changes, I'm open to it. Leave that in the comments and I will be reading all the comments that you leave on this video. For everything that I've mentioned, all the links will be in the description below. Until next time.